Welcome to Cyprus Diaspora Uncovered. In this episode of Cyprus Diaspora Uncovered, Dr. Yanna Darili sits down with Demetrios Mallios, a seasoned investor, entrepreneur and business leader with more than 3 decades of experience in investment banking, private equity, venture capital, mergers and acquisitions and corporate finance. Recorded live on May 7th, 2026 at the Cyprus Diaspora Forum held at the AMARA Hotel in Limassol, Cyprus, this exclusive conversation explores Mallios' entrepreneurial journey and his role as founder, chairman and CEO of the Aeon Group, a diversified holding company with investments across technology, life sciences, real estate, natural resources and telecommunications. A Dragon's Den Greece alumnus, Mallios shares his perspectives on identifying high-potential businesses, investing in innovation, creating long-term value, and the strategic vision required to succeed in today's rapidly evolving global economy.
Welcome to the Cyprus Diaspora Forum, and welcome all of you to the Cyprus Diaspora Forum. Hello to all the distinguished guests, Mr. Stavru from the Chamber, and all of you that have come such a long way. We'd like to thank Paul Lambis and everyone for being here and all the wonderful work that Paul is doing to unite the Cypriots around the world, right here in Cyprus, where everybody belongs. Mr. Demetrios
he's a rock star.
Mallios, ladies and gentlemen, please have
just
a seat.
here? Okay.
Wherever you're the boss, wherever you feel comfortable.
All right.
So
This feels good.
Mr. Mallios is a serial entrepreneur. I think you all know a lot about him. I mean, everyone knows who he is. He's not just a TV presenter. He's the real deal. Okay, we have to be honest about it. He comes from a vast background of finance. He worked and played with the big dogs in New York and global finance. And he's built tremendous companies. He's built a tremendous legacy for himself with Aeon. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
My wife named the company, by the way.
It's a great name.
Yes,
congratulations.
I'll tell you the story.
All right. We'd love to hear it. And so welcome to Cyprus, and thank you for your support to the country. We're all here. I'm from the, I hail from a Greek American background. I was born and raised in New York. And, I just love Cyprus. I love Greece. And we are here, all of us, to support and promote Hellenism. Dimitri, tell us about yourself.
Okay. I am originally from New Jersey. I'm born and raised in New Jersey. My mother is here actually, and her
Hello,
brother.
Καλώς ήρθατε.
My mother is from Oroklini, from Larnaga.
Τώρα εξηγείτε.
Hence the connection, right? Hence the connection. Yeah. My father's Greek. He's from Evia.
Beautiful.
From a little town called Kimi. And they met there. So I'm first generation born in the United States. What else can I tell you? I mean, I love living in Greece. I love being here in Cyprus. We have a home here now. It's not just a place of beauty and peace, but it's also safety. And I think what we found is it's also a place that we're finding a lot of real inspiration and drive for young people and for others to find their way and to create their new direction. I think, as we were talking about earlier, one of the things that I've noticed is technology is moving at a rate that we're not going to be able to really try to keep up with, and we shouldn't. We should probably try to enhance it and embrace it in a lot of ways.
News changes daily.
But I think that becomes a really massive benefit for places like Greece and Cyprus that have not just a fantastic diaspora, because the diaspora is massive. It's much more massive than just what we see when we come here locally. But it's about having the right kind of infrastructure and rails that give that technology the ability to breathe, and then people embracing that and then running with it, which actually creates a much larger thing than just, your local factory or your local agricultural, thing or whatever. And not there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying in a small country, when you have the ability to embrace technology like that and open up the right kind of not just government and regulatory structures, but but give people sort of that inspiration and say, hey, you can live in a beautiful place, and yes, it's safe for your children, and yes, it's wonderful, to educate and to grow and to be a sense of community, but you can also grow and scale fantastic businesses without needing all of that bulk. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. And you speak a lot about AI. I would like, because you know Cyprus so well now, and you've invested in Cyprus and emotionally, and you're from here. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on what is the untapped market, or what is the untapped commodity here, including people, not only technology. Give me a broader understanding of your perspective, having been here, worked here, or trying to build something here, or looking for the next best thing, hedging. What's next here in Cyprus?
I think in a lot of ways the answer is similar to the answer in Greece. It's not. Greece has its different challenges. Cyprus has its different challenges. But eventually, I think what we're talking about is the same thing. When you give people, and it's all about people in the end, you give people the ability to congregate and work as a company, right? A group of people, a way to live and share in a place that they feel safe and happy in. I don't know that you need to specify it to a specific industry or sector or idea or
concept. Are there opportunities for? I mean, we have a brain drain. Since we spoke about Greece, we had a brain drain. They're coming back now, and Cyprus has always had a brain drain. The Cypriots are excelling tremendously abroad, and it's harder for them to come back because the opportunities aren't here. So what does Cyprus need to bring back people, create the opportunities for them, and help the country grow and export services, talent, product, businesses?
I think what it needs to embrace the fact that there are changes that have to be made, and it does come from the top down.
What kind of changes?
I mean, mostly it's regulatory. You have a lot of personal taxation issues. You have a lot of things that just you can't get done. Transferring title of a home is like a perfect example of like you can't get it done. And you can know people, in the local municipality. You can have relationships with good legal firms. You can have all the documentation that you need, all of those things. These are barriers that it inhibits personal life. It inhibits human life.
Of course.
So it's one thing to say, hey, I came to Cyprus and it's gorgeous and I'm staying at this beautiful resort and oh, look how wonderful the sea is, and oh, the people are so nice. And then you have to live there. And then when you have to live there and you have to work there, and then you have to be taxed there as an employee, and you have to figure out all those things. And I'm not talking down or looking down, because it's not really what I'm trying to accomplish. What I'm trying to accomplish is figure out how can I be a part of that shift that transforms, even just with the things that I'm involved in, that can, people can take a little bit from and go, oh, that worked. That's interesting. Oh, that worked. That's interesting. And then move from there.
So more efficiency. Maybe you can be the Elon Musk for Cyprus.
I don't think that anybody wants me to be the Elon Musk of Cyprus.
I'm kidding.
I can tell you right now, my wife certainly does not want me to be the Elon Musk of Cyprus.
Well, no, meaning perhaps you can start a dialogue. I mean, President Christodoulis is doing an amazing job. He has created a great strategic partnership now, opened the doors with the United States and, of course, with all the allies. And I think Cyprus is in a good place. I think he's willing to hear what it would take to help move things along, make the country efficient, make it easier for people, also in incentives for people to come and live here and work here and create companies.
I think that one of the things that Cyprus has as its benefit that Greece does not, is that Cyprus is more willing, and I mean from a business perspective now. I don't mean, village, cultural, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Villages are villages, okay? and people that live in villages are acting certain ways. And that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, from a business perspective, Cyprus, to me, seems that it's more welcoming to embrace other people from other places, other cultures, and listen to new ideas, listen to best practices, and look at how other places do things and say, hey, could we adopt that? And I'm sorry, I've said this throughout my whole career. The private sector is normally where you see things change. It's not the public sector. So anybody who sits around and waits for the government to do something to figure out how to make my life better, you're better off asking your mom to help you out, because it's not the public sector is not going to do it for you. No. And that's not where it happens. The private sector has to create that change that the public sector says, hey, if we don't go along with this, we're not going to get elected. And if we don't sort of embrace what these people are trying to do and accomplish, then it's not going to work. I mean, you brought up Elon Musk. NASA couldn't get their stuff together for I don't know how many decades. Right. Elon Musk starts a private company. He's not a rocket scientist. He never did anything like that. What did he do? He read a lot of books. He hired a lot of people. He started a rocket company. Now he is single-handedly the reason why NASA can even get anything done.
But I think what's happening today happened in the 80s, since you're from the States. I remember there was a emergence of being an entrepreneur. And that's how all the Wall Street excitement started. It went right straight through the 90s. And I think people are now getting interested. Hey, I don't want to be a public servant. Maybe that mindset is changing. Even in Greece, people want more. They want to be more creative. They want the opportunities. And so I agree with you. I think that is something that has to change. And that's going to change with the new generations that are coming, and with people like yourself who are inspiring the new generation. But let's go back a little bit. I want to hear about you, your rise into what you do. You do many different things, but you do a very difficult thing. You do fundraising. So raising capital rather. Raising capital is a very difficult thing to do. Looking back at your career, I'd like for you to share with our audience perhaps on what your biggest wins were and what were some of your biggest losses, and what was the success behind the success, and what was the failure behind the losses and risks?
I will tell you that anybody who has been an entrepreneur or has worked through building a business, a company, whatever it is, will agree with me when I say that when you call it a rise, it's just a series of falling. There's no, it's not like, okay, I made this decision, boom. I made this decision, boom. I made this decision, boom. And now look at me. I mean, we as a company, and myself as a founder of a company, all I'm doing is failing and falling every day. I just figured out how to get up faster, And every time you fall down, you figure out how to get up faster. That's how a child learns how to walk. That's how people learn how to run businesses. And that's how companies get to come together and share ideas in order to grow a business and do something different that might last longer than their own life. So yeah, I don't know that I would say that I have risen to anything yet. I think that it's more important to say that I just keep failing and keep falling and then just keep getting back up.
So when you get back up, I mean, you're a risk taker. It takes a certain personality to do this type of work, everyone.
Yes, I have a very high tolerance for pain. Yes, I do.
Okay. So we have to be honest about it. It's not easy doing what these guys do. And there's not many of these guys that are sitting right here that can do what they do. And there's a reason for that. And each of them have that special, what it takes. And what does it take to be a risk taker? How do you know when you've gone too far in risk?
Okay. Wow, that's tough because I normally don't know when.
You don't know when to stop? You just
no, I kind of don't. I think that everybody's threshold changes with their own personal experiences or their personal lives. the moment that I start to feel like I might be putting my family at risk is when I go, okay, that's enough.
That's a cutoff then.
That's my personal threshold.
So you evaluate the risk, because that's what you guys do, evaluate risks. And what is on that list of okay to risk? It gets to this threshold. I think I'm going to take a step back.
I think maybe we're blurring lines, because if we're talking about taking risk as an investor, yes, and taking risk with your own personal business, there's two different things. Taking risk as an investor is it's a very different dynamic. There's more science to it than there is art. It's not really, the moment emotion starts to become part of your decision making is the moment that you're going to lose on that investment.
Do you have emotions? Are you more emotional with your personal businesses or the ones that you invest in?
Yeah, the only business that I have an emotional connection to is the one that helps feed and take care of my family. The investments that we make are much more scientific in nature and into how we do those things. Now, there might be an instinct or a gut that drives me towards one thing or another, one company versus another, Anthropic versus OpenAI, Shield versus Anduril. I'm just saying names. I don't know if you guys know these companies that I'm mentioning, but
ethical decisions whether to invest in them, because AI has some ethical questions. Brittany Kaiser just came out with a lot of whistleblowing on that.
I think all new technologies have ethical issues and financial issues. And I think that when you're investing in new technologies, you can't really make those bets based on those things. This is not a socioeconomic decision. This is a financial decision. So when you're making an investment into a company, you have to decide on a number of factors. What is that company going to do to help enhance or change human behavior in the way we do it, in the larger scale of investing, not just the startups, but in the larger scale companies? How is this investment or how is this company going to help change human behavior? How is this company going to help grow, economies locally where they are building their businesses, or where is that money going to go when they do it? Are they, domiciled in Ireland versus Texas versus Cyprus, right? So there are a lot of things that come into play when you make a decision. But at the end of the day, we're not a philanthropy. We're not a charity organization. We're not here to make investments to grow communities. That's what we're supposed to do with our own personal money. That's what we're supposed to do with our own philosophy. You have a personal ethos, but your business ethos is totally different. If you start to hold people to that, I think that you limit the way that business will grow or that company can scale. If you take a new startup, is there any startup founders in the room here? How many from Cyprus? How many Cyprus startups?
That's a lot.
Cyprus startups that are actually employing Cypriots and adding to the Cypriot economy. Okay, you're there. Great. Let me ask you a question. And all of you, may have the same answer. Maybe some of you don't. But let me ask you this. When you started your company, did you say, I'm going to start a company because I want to actually create 3,000 jobs and I want all those people to make about $40,000 to $60,000 a year, and I want them all to live in nice houses and be able to afford private school? Did you start your company for that reason? No, you didn't, right? No. Did you start your company because you said, I'm going to start my company because I want to help make sure that the roads in my area are safe, unless you're in the infrastructure business? Is that why you did it? No. Why did you start your company? Because you wanted to affect change. You saw a problem. You wanted to solve it, right? You found a place that you felt comfortable starting your company, Cyprus, and you hired people here that you thought were competent and capable of helping you hit that vision. Am I right? Okay. Was there anything philanthropic in your idea of starting your business? Do you have philanthropic ideas of your own?
Only Paul Lambis.
Wonderful. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? the idea of investing in companies and the idea of starting and building companies is not about creating social change. It's about creating economic and financial change. You can make sure that you do those things along the way, but that's not the original reason for starting a business.
What would you say to these founders here today? What are the top three things that they make a mistake of? What is the top three mistakes founders make?
Okay. Not in order. A massive mistake that I see a lot of founders make is that they focus on their product and not their people.
Define their people.
You can build a great product. You can make the best glass you've ever seen. And if this glass, if you're good enough, you might actually get that glass on the shelf in a store. Just because it's the best glass you've ever made and just because it's on a shelf in a store doesn't mean that anybody's going to buy it. The only way that people buy this is that they're motivated and influenced to do so. And it might be by price.
And how so influenced?
Well, it might be by price. Most of the times it's not. It might be by marketing. It might be by, other means of but you need people to get that word out. I don't care if you're using AI or if you're using social media or whatever. You need people because the creative is the idea. The creative comes from humans. It comes from human experiences. You cannot replace the human in the creative process with artificial intelligence. AI is there as a tool, and it should be one of the tools that everybody should be learning and expanding on. We should be telling our kids that they need to be learning this stuff and using it every day, but not as a replacement of themselves and not as a replacement of their creative process.
The word is tools, and that's exactly what people are missing, the point that it's a tool. It's not the end all, and a lot of that information is wrong as well. So you 100%, have to
100%. And that's going to change too. The information will get better because it will be taking better information. It'll inputting it. That's a product. That's a problem for today. It's not a problem for forever.
So you're on 2. What's the third?
I think the third that I've seen in many cases is that people have this. It's an inherent sense of fear, and most of the times, what they fear is something that shouldn't even be part of their equation. When you're afraid to take a step or make a decision or take a direction, it's normally because you have the fear of unknown. And that fear of unknown might be, I don't know what that person's going to think of me, or, nobody's going to think this is a good idea or whatever. When you allow fear to dictate your decision-making, you don't really make good decisions. You have to look at things with a very specific mindset. And we're Greeks, I think majority, right? We're Greeks and Cypriots, and we follow and we learn and we have those histories. When you make decisions or make representations using 3 basic terms, which is ethos, pathos, and logos, when you use those 3 things, you can make really good decisions. And if they fall into those categories, fear is not in there. Have you noticed that? Yes. So when you start to make decisions based on fear, it will always put you down the wrong path. If you stick with those 3 core elements, you're never going to really go wrong. So, don't focus on your product, focus on your people and your process. Don't wait for other things to fix things for you. You got to fix them yourself and have conviction in what you're doing. And don't make decisions based on fear. I think those would probably be the top 3.
And so when you're looking for new investments, what is it that grabs your attention? What is it that makes you stop and start asking questions and then ultimately say yes to investing?
It's a different answer for different things. When you're talking about startups, it's a different answer. When you're talking about, let's say, later stage investing, things that you're more passive on in your investing, it's a different thing. So I'll start from the bottom up. So when I'm looking at startup investments, what I'm looking for is a person or a team of people that are more concerned with who's on the bus than where the bus is going. I like to know that, hey, if you know that you're trying something, but you know that there are going to be mistakes or roadblocks or turns that you have to make along the way, are those people capable and competent and have enough drive and vision in order to make those changes, make those decisions, and move forward? You're not going to go wrong there, I think, for the most part. I also like to focus on looking for things that I think will change or enhance human behavior. And that's the reason why mostly
this is the industry that excites you.
Mostly that's the reason why I'm in technology and life sciences, because I feel that that's the most interesting and exciting stuff for me, and it's not always about the return on investment. It's not always about the multiple on the money, I like to tell people about a company that we invested in that is actually pretty close now. They're almost done. They've been public. We made I think 22x on the investment. But we were the first money into the company. It's three people, scientist, a CFO, and an executive.
Which company is that?
It's now called Mira GTX. It started out it was called Cadmon Gene Therapy. They had an idea. They said, we want to cure blindness. And it's like, okay, you want to cure blindness. And then you start talking to them and you go, oh my God. You really want to do it? These guys might be able to do it, or at least they have enough conviction in themselves that they're not going to give up until they do it. And they're pretty close to getting there. So yes, we made it was a good investment from a financial perspective. Could it have gone wrong? Probably. Was it worth making the investment to try to see if that could be done? Absolutely. And are they almost there? And there's a scientist here. Are they almost there? You know them, right?
So what made you say yes?
What made me say yes? There were three people in a room. They were the right people to have on the bus. They had a conviction. They had enough capabilities to go, you know what? They might have a really good shot. And if things were to go wrong, I had a feeling that they would be competent and capable enough to make those shifts and make those changes. I mean, they started out a New York company. They ended up a UK company. Now they own their own facility. We had discussions internally after the first year and a half of taking the public. Hey, maybe we should go public now. And it was like, no, we don't want to go public now. We're going to wait a little bit longer. You know what? They ended up going public, and they're still doing great. The stock is still trading fantastically. Shareholders are making a lot of money. They're doing amazing things, right? So that's one of those things. It's not always about just, hey, I'm going to put money in here and I'm going to make that. If you're chasing the money, you're never going to catch it. Sometimes it's about actually chasing what's trying to be accomplished and then go from there. OpenAI is another great example. I was not really excited about that company. And I'm still not that crazy about that company. I actually think that if there's one multi-billion-dollar artificial intelligence company that might go bankrupt, it's that one.
What about Claude?
I think Anthropic is probably the antithesis. I think that's probably the winner in this sphere of companies right now, between them and Perplexity and others that are really, making an impact and making some changes. OpenAI is the one that I felt the most risk on. I was I don't like the founder. I think he's kind of talking out of two sides of his head. Is he a public, company? Is he a private company? Does he want to give all of his stuff for free? Is he trying to make money? Who are his partners? Why are they there? Why is this company's valuation $100 billion when they don't even have code? All of that stuff was I don't really like that one. Anthropic, I love. Mm-hmm. I think that one's
And
great.
You like them for all the opposite reasons?
I like them for the reasons that I normally like companies. I think that the founder, makes a lot of sense. I think he does good hard work. I think that they have raised a significant amount of money, but they've been fair with their valuations to their investors. There's no drama. People put their head down and they get stuff done. I like who their partners are. And I like how they conduct their business.
AI is exciting, but it can be risky. Let's talk about risk in AI. What are the liabilities? What is it that worries you? What worries you about the future of AI? From many standpoints, financial, ethical.
I might not be the person you want to ask because I don't necessarily know that I have as many as others do. I think artificial intelligence, like all other tools that have been created throughout the course of time, like the Sith and the hammer and the railroad, are all fantastic things that have changed our life, and they have made our life easier and easier for people and communities to grow, and people to eat food and do work and all those things. I think there's an old statistic that says that before agriculture and irrigation agriculture was invented, the human mind only operated about 3% of its capacity. And today we're at about 12% of its capacity. That's not a big jump between learning how to grow crops and where we are today. But if every single advancement in technology throughout history has given the human mind the capacity to use another 1% of its mind, of its capacity, what kind of addition to that does AI give us? So you could say that, oh my God, AI can think and process faster than the average human does today. Okay, but didn't the human create that? And
Program.
If it does that, doesn't that mean that gives us more tools and capabilities in order to do more things? Does that mean that we go to 15% mental capacity, 20% mental capacity? We don't really know where we are yet. So I don't necessarily know that I'm the right guy to ask about, what are your fears about AI? My biggest fear of AI are the people and the governments that seem to think that they should be in control of it.
Well, IP, intellectual property, is one of the biggest debates over AI.
Yeah.
And of course, I mentioned earlier, Brittany Kaiser, she was a whistleblower, and she spoke about how you actually information that you're inputting into these chat GPTs and Claudes may not at the end be any of you don't own the right.
You have a Facebook account?
I do it. I rarely use it.
Yeah. You know how many other people have a Facebook account?
Millions, billions.
It's about 6 billion.
Yeah.
6 billion people have a Facebook account. Do you know how long people have been given their information and their and all their stuff?
But it's different now.
Why is it different?
I'll tell you why.
Why?
You're putting in. People are now using it for profits and losses. They're doing it quicker. They're trying to create presentations. They're putting all their intellectual property in there. And it's at some point, even a competitor may prompt and say, hey, how is my competitor's sales doing? That information may come up, and guess who put it in there?
Have you run a business on Facebook, sweetheart? Yes. Were you paying Facebook for a subscription when you were using Facebook to run your business? Do you believe that Facebook has all of that data that you put up of your business on Facebook? Yes. Do you think that they use that to get other people to do the same thing on Facebook?
Absolutely.
Yes. So, and when were you do that? Was that before or after artificial intelligence was invented? So, listen.
This is your lovely wife.
That's my wife. Yes, my wife,
Hello.
Melissa. These are questions that I don't think that
So it's not liability. It's not anything that's going to make you think twice about investing.
Absolutely not. Look, Coca-Cola invented a soft drink. Do you know how many companies actually make a Coca-Cola? Just because the IP started at Coca-Cola doesn't mean that we all don't get the benefit from enjoying a nice cold frosty beverage. Right? It doesn't matter. Sooner or later, the IP is not what matters. You guys, you're worrying about the wrong things. Intellectual property of the information that's going in is less valuable than the output of all of the other intellectual properties of all of those other inputs that are coming back to you. And now there's a person that lives in some country somewhere, population 2,000, that can scale and grow a business with one idea faster than somebody who lived in New York City with $1 billion in their account 20 years ago. The output is way more valuable than the input. You're worried about the wrong stuff, in my opinion. Not you personally,
I'm in media. I worry about everything. But anyway, so let's move on back to your lessons. Let's go back to your lessons from your biggest win. What kind of lessons, takeaways have you kept in your little pocket or big pocket rather, about winning?
Okay. it doesn't last very long. That's when most people that don't care about you are going to want to be around you. And the more you focus on it, the more your ego is going to take you away from your focus. That's the biggest lessons you learn from winning. At least I've learned from winning. The best lessons that you learn from losing are, don't do that again.
But why?
Right? How are you going to avoid making that mistake another time? Looking at the people around you to see if you have to, replace people around you in order to make better decisions going forward. So you don't really learn from winning. And you know what? Winning is a wonderful thing, and everybody strives to get there. That's the whole purpose of it. But it's about accomplishing something that hasn't been accomplished before. It's not really about the win. You know what I mean? Even you look at professional athletes, and they talk about winning, and it's like the same thing. It's like, oh, how did you lose that game? And it's like, we're talking about how you weren't over here when you were watching me practice all those times. I want to lose sometimes. You got to learn.
Let's turn that into success instead of win, because what you do is scalable with success. And so success has a formula. What does that formula look like to you? What's success, a great formula for success?
I don't really know yet, because I don't really feel like I've even gotten to that level to be able to mention. But I will tell you that success should feel more like it took me a shorter amount of time with a lower amount of effort in order to get up that next step. That's what success should feel like to me, because I don't the people that focus and ride on their success, and they sit on their and all that stuff, it's not really about what they're trying to do. It's more about their ego. And that's a very short-lived thing. I mean, Caesar will tell you better than everybody that, all glory is fleeting. You can't wait and sit on that. It's not about that. It's about the journey. It's about the journey. And my wife and I talk about it every day. Our personal journey, the business journey, what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to get to, who are the right people to have around, who are the right people that we need to get rid of and change and bring back in, and where do we look for those new people and all that stuff. Success is more personal than that.
Exactly.
I mean, look, we've recently started a program with Darili College, the American College Greece. Yeah, we recently started a program there called the Deal Room. It's a program that is sort of it's sort of built like a game show, but it's actually based around taking real theoretical ideas and concepts that you learn in university and applying them to real world businesses. Mm-hmm. So we had 60 students apply. They sent us their videos. They did all that stuff. And then, we did on in-person interviews. We got to 25 students. We built 5 teams. Those teams are all competing with each other in order to find us a real target for our SPAC. A special purpose acquisition company. It's going public on the NASDAQ in the next week to 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Knock on wood. And that SPAC's purpose is to acquire a European sports team. So all of these students have been doing their own diligence, their own analysis, their own studies. They've been working with us as mentors in order to find the sports team to buy, build the financial model on how to buy it, understand all the risks associated with acquiring that team, and then closing the transaction, how much capital needs to be raised, and then what happens to the stock price after. And these are all real deals. And believe it or not, every single one of those teams that those kids have brought to us are teams that we would buy. They're unbelievable, right? That's success.
And that's great. Let's talk about decades and raising capital. Tell us about the difference between the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, and raising capital. What was going on then? What's going on now, in your opinion?
So I I got my first job at Lehman Brothers in 1989. I was a cold caller, and it was all of the Wolf of Wall Street that you imagine in the movie, except for all the other crazy stuff. Most of the crazy stuff.
Well, maybe not.
Jordan Belfort.
Probably in there.
Jordan Belfort did all that crazy stuff, but all firms on Wall Street pretty much function the same way. I mean, there was a floor of a building full of guys and girls with phones, making calls, yelling at each other, throwing footballs across the room, ordering pizza till 3 o'clock in the morning and trying to close deals. That's what it was. And it was a really surreal and crazy experience for me to live through at that young age, because I was only like 19 years old. And I remember that summer when I first was hired, that firm did the Home Depot secondary offering. It was the right after the IPO. It was another $100 million. And I remember coming home going, Dad, you got to give me 10 grand. We have to invest in this company. It's called Home Depot. My father was a house painter. He said, Dimitri, are you crazy? Where am I supposed to get $10,000? Come on, what are you doing?
You know how many houses I have to pay?
Yeah. No, exactly. And I was like, dude,
Bless him.
listen, you gotta listen to me. This is gonna be huge. These guys are putting in hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm watching it with my own eyes. You gotta listen to me, right? But that's what it was then. And you needed a lot of people with a lot of telephones, with big, marquee names behind you in order to raise capital back in the 80s. At the same time, something very interesting happened and began happening in another part of the United States. And I'll bring it all back because it's related. So a New York investment banker left New York because he got a letter from a group of guys in California that worked for a semiconductor company that didn't want anything to do with their boss because they hated their boss. Okay? And they decided to leave. And they sent letters to every bank, every firm, everywhere. This one guy, happened to get the mail that day. He opens the letter, he reads it, and he's like, oh, that's really cool. He talks to those guys, goes over there, meets them. I think they were considered the original Hateful Eight. And he decided I'm going to take you guys on. I'm going to raise money for you. Now, one guy calling everybody. I mean, anything, anywhere he could find, raising money for these 8 guys. He really believed in them. This is going to be the future. These guys are going to do it. This is awesome. That guy, those 8 guys, and then another collection of other people. We're talking about people that were businessmen and women, and they would meet in coffee shops, and they would talk about cool new ideas. Coffee shops, sitting around, talk about cool new ideas.
Sounds like Greeks.
It's Silicon Valley, actually, is what I'm talking about. And that's how Silicon Valley was invented. That's how it was created. Those guys created Intel. They created Atari. Those guys also created some of the biggest names like Sequoia. Sand Hill Road didn't exist because of those guys, because of that one guy, that New York broker who gave it a shot and went over there. It changed everything. It changed everything. Silicon Valley was created because of that. But why did Silicon Valley then become big? It wasn't just because that one guy and those 8 guys. It was because, wait a second, Silicon Valley is a gorgeous place to live. It's not very expensive at all. There's a lot of open space. You can get pretty inexpensive office space to rent. A lot of really cool people coming out of cool universities that want to give it a shot. Young people that are willing to take a chance, right? That's the same story that this place has right now. It's the same story. It's the same story that Athens has right now. Where else would you want to live in the world than Greece or Cyprus?
There you go.
Right? For all the personal reasons that you might think, right?
Yes.
But what happens? Now you need good capital that is interested in coming in to fund people with good ideas that can be supported by good youth that have drive, that have initiative, that have good universities behind them to give them the ability and the skills and the knowledge to step in and take a shot. I mean, we're talking about the same thing, right? That's what makes this place exciting. That's what made me want to come to this forum. Because I'm like, hey, I didn't come here to teach anything. I came to learn. I want to see what's going on.
So what have you learned so far? What are you seeing that's exciting to you at the forum?
It's the same thing that I just said. This is a repeat of history. It's a repeat of history.
New Silicon
you
Valley?
got great people here that are trying to lead the way to change the path of the place that this can be. But you've got all of those other components too. You have all of those valuable components. You forget about the brain drain. They're gonna, trust me, they're gonna come back. You think that anybody wants to spend $25,000 a month to live in Silicon Valley?
No.
Come on.
They don't want to spend $5,000 in New York. They're not going to spend.
They're going, and they're still going. And now they figured out, hey, wait, between COVID and AI and other forms of technology, I can actually do what I do and do what I love, and I don't have to be in Silicon Valley. Money's doing the same thing. Money's figuring that out. Wait, I don't have to go to Stanford. I don't have to go to companies and pay them $500,000 a year salary as a second year programmer. I can do that in Cyprus.
So we're in the new decade now here, and
this is the golden age of this part of the world. And with the people that are in this organization that have put this thing together, those people really care about changing things, transformative changes that will make this place the next that place.
This is the new Cyprus, everyone. Congratulations. You're here. You are. You've made it. You're on your way. Your non-negotiables for life.
Okay.
Your wife is watching. Be careful. You're going to say no.
No.
And mom, too.
She's top of list. Non-negotiables for life.
The most important things to you.
Don't ask me to travel without my wife. I don't like doing that. Don't ask me to do something that will put my character in jeopardy. Don't ask me to sit to a 3-hour meeting.
That means something's not right, not being explained right.
Don't ask me to invest my time and my money where you wouldn't. And don't take advantage of my kindness.
Wise words. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Demetrios Mallios. I would like to give some credit because behind a powerful man is a powerful woman. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for believing in Cyprus and living it, because you're not just saying, yeah, you guys should go to Cyprus. You live here, you come here, you invest here. So there's something to be said about that. And I think that this is a man to watch. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Cyprus Diaspora Uncovered. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts for more inspiring conversations that are shaping Cyprus's global future. You can also explore more episodes on our website and selected video interviews on our YouTube channels.